There's an 80s movie. It's called 3 Men and a Baby. 3 men go to help this woman while she goes off to a job interview, and there's a baby. Did you catch that? 3 men and a baby. So the 3 men attempt to care for this child in their own unique way. And like true rom-coms, really crunchy, kind of cringy 80s movies, it was funny. So today we're going to talk about perspective. So these 3 men and a baby, they brought their 3 points of view to this circumstance of helping this kid, and it was a disaster. So I don't want your life to be a disaster. So we're here to talk about perspective and what you're looking at in all seriousness. Maybe not too serious today. Okay, so here's a story for you. So there was a gentleman that was walking on the streets of Paris. Why do I say Paris? Because one day I'm going to see Paris. I'm going to see the Eiffel Tower. It's happening. I've said it out loud. Everyone here has heard it. It's going down. But there's a man walking on the streets of Paris, and he sees this just this big field. And all of these workers were all doing different parts of this build. And so he's walking along and he can't quite figure out what this building is. And so he starts asking questions. Stops to the first guy and says, "Hey, what you doing?" The gentleman that was working, he had some bricks in his hands and he looks at him kind of like a little bit put out, like, "Are you a moron?" And he holds the brick up and he says, "Well, I'm laying bricks. Duh." It's like, the gentleman was like, "Okay, all right, fine. Let you get back to it." The guy keeps walking down the block and, because this is big. What's going on here on the streets of Paris? Let's all envision it with the Eiffel Tower in the background. It's a big build. So he keeps walking down maybe another block. He sees another gentleman. And this gentleman he's using the bricks, but he's doing something different. He walks up to the guy and he says, "Hey, what's going on? What's happening here? What's being built?" And this gentleman looks at him kind of with the same look as the first guy, like, "Are you an idiot? Moron. I'm making a wall. Can't you see? I'm using my bricks to make a wall." Guy was like, all right. I get it. You're okay. The guy keeps walking down another block, sees another guy working. This time, this guy, he's up on some scaffolding. And the gentleman that's walking along looks up at the guy on the scaffolding and he kind of hollers up at him and he's like, "Hey, what's going on here? What are you building?" And this guy on the scaffolding looks down at the man walking on the street and he stops and he turns to him, and with engagement, he looks at him in the eye and he smiles, and with just so much beaming with pride, he said, "I'm building a cathedral." Wow. Let's talk about perspective for a minute. Each one of these guys, all along the way, the first gentleman that he encountered, with almost disdain, said, I'm laying bricks. Can you move on? I'm busy. I'm sweating. I'm hot. It's hard work. I'm laying bricks. Keep walking." The second guy, with equal disdain for what he was doing, was frustrated and, "I'm just building a wall. Just keep moving. And it's hard. What I'm doing is hard." But the third guy had a different perspective. See, he was putting in the same amount of manual labor. He was working the same, but he had a different perspective of what he was doing. And so in the process of a different perspective, his labor now wasn't in vain. His labor was going towards efforts for a blueprint that he could envision in his mind. So I envision this beautiful cathedral that they're building when I close my eyes. It's this beautiful cathedral on blocks of this beautiful green grass, and every person has a part of the build. And without each person in part of the build, the cathedral would not come to completion. But in the process, everyone's perspective was just a little bit different. And I think too many times for me in my life, I have looked at my current circumstances and I have been like the first guy, grumpy, with disdain, frustrated. I'm looking at exactly what I'm doing today as I'm building and as like I'm laying bricks, and it's hard work, and I'm frustrated with the process. I have put blood, sweat, and tears into what I'm doing, and I'm not seeing any results. And if someone was to ask me, what do you got going on in your life, Natalie? Where are you going? What are you building? It's like, I'm just trying to make it through today. Or maybe it's like the other guy, the second guy that was making or building a wall. And hey, I've been there before, where maybe I'm not just simply trying to make it through my moment today, but maybe I'm trying to get to the end of a season. Maybe I'm in the process of raising my children. And hey, I remember when I was raising my kiddos and there was no sleep to be had. All I wanted to do was to get to the other side when I could sleep through the night. I was building a wall. But man, how beautiful is it that in those moments and seasons of my life, if I could have stepped back and looked at my blueprint and saw the entire build, that I was actually building a life that I enjoy living in. That every stop along the way, that every laying of a brick and building of a wall and putting scaffolding up to reach higher points in my journey, that actually it was all a beautiful build to a beautiful life. And I think sometimes we encounter this like hard times. And our hard times can include death of a family member. It can include death of a loved one, or tragedy that has happened in your home. And oh my goodness, we all faced COVID. Let's not forget about that. We can face really hard things. And if we do not have a set of blueprints in front of us to look, to have a different perspective for our life, all we are going to see is the here and now in the circumstances of today. So where do you get your blueprint? What does that look like? Well, first and foremost, you need to go to your Father. He's going to give you blueprints for your life that you could have never dreamed of. But also, there's something stirring inside of you that you've been dreaming of accomplishing in your life, of something bigger and better than what you currently have now. And I just dare to say that that's probably a God dream. That he's really created these like blueprints for you, for your life, and it's going to be beautiful. But I think too many times we get stuck in the circumstances of today, and we are overcome by the emotion and the tragedy of today, and we forget to pull out those blueprints, lay them out on our kitchen table, and remind ourselves of where we're going. And I'm not insinuating that you push away emotions of tragedy and that you pretend like it's not there. No, I want you to actually move forward in that. I want you to heal and I want you to process, but I do not want you to forget what you're building. And I want you to keep your perspective on the right thing, the blueprints, because perspective matters. So there's this one time. Oh my goodness. Okay. For all of you girls and guys out there that love all things health products, essential oils, healthy living, all of the things. Well, you know, my husband, he does love all things healthy living, but he knows nothing about this. It's just kind of whatever I bring into the house. It's kind of what he does and he moves on with life. So I'll never forget one time, we were actually working at our church building and we were going through a storage unit. And our children's department had used thieves to clean all of the surfaces, all of the toys. And we would buy thieves. And if you know, you know, thieves. We would buy thieves, this very expensive organic oils cleaning product by the gallons. I mean, jugs of it, because we wanted to use really clean products in our children's department. So I'll never forget this. I'm in the storage unit cleaning out all of this dingy trash and broken items and all things like this. And my husband says, we're hot, we're sweaty. It's a summer Texas month, and we're just trying to get it done. Okay. Our perspective was get it done as fast as possible. And so my husband holds this big bottle of, he didn't know what it was, big, huge gallon jug of what was thieves, but it did not have the label on it anymore and had been in the storage unit for so long that it was slimy. It was gross. It was a crusty bottle of thieves. And so I hear my husband, John, in the background go, "What's this?" I'm throwing it away. And he went to go toss this bottle of thieves, this gallon jug of thieves, out of the storage unit. And it was like, no. It was kind of like slow motion. I run to go catch the thieves bottle. And all of the ladies that were in the process of cleaning out the storage unit did the same thing. No. So what my husband didn't realize is the contents of the thieves was still good. But the bottle, the exterior, the label had been worn off and it was crusty, and he did not know the value of what was in the thieves. His perspective of that bottle of gross, nasty thieves was it needed to be tossed in the trash. But we knew actually the valuable contents in the gallon jug. And so I want to encourage you today, as we close out, as we end the episode, as you go back to this amazing life that you are building, I want to remind you that you are building a beautiful life. You're building a cathedral, and that your perspective matters. That if you're in the middle of tragedy and you're looking at your life and it looks like the crusty bottle of thieves, don't toss it out. The contents of who you are is still really, really good. And so stay plugged in, stay connected. You have got a beautiful life that's ahead of you, and you are building a better future. So I hope that this has left you encouraged, and I hope that you can look at your current circumstances and have a new, fresh perspective.